right, good morning. Welcome to, and thank you for joining us for the 10 R's of Sustainability. We want this to be as engaging as possible, so please make sure you think of some questions and feel free to raise your hand and ask questions at any time as we continue on. First, my name is Julie Schneiderman. I'm the CEO and founder of Ecostiks, and I'm the moderator. And for here, I want to introduce you to our panel. First, we're going to start with David Rovesk from King Kong Trailers. Yep. Then, is it working? Jennifer Brazill from Borderline Festival. And then Ken Deans from KD Production Services. And Paul Shurink from Showpower. So we're going to take a moment and have each of these folks give an introduction about what the work that they're doing right now in sustainability. Go ahead. Why don't you start, David?
Thank you, Jamie. My name's David. Company is King Kong Production Vehicles and Set Life. We provide transportation custom trailers to the entertainment industry and events. Mostly everything going forward is solar, as well as we provide battery energy storage systems for studios and events.
Amazing. You want to keep it going?
Hello, I'm Jennifer Brazill. I own a festival in upstate New York called Borderland Music Festival. And I've been in the industry for over 25 years in multiple different facets of the industry, and all of them sustainability, environmental forward businesses or festivals or events. And our current festival is, our brand is, we built the festival brand around our sustainability and environmental mission. So we've won a bunch of awards in New York for environmental stewardship and leadership with New York State. So it's always at the front of our mission as a festival.
Well, Ken, you want to keep it going?
Sure. So Ken Deans, I'm currently the Director of Production and Logistics for Golden Voice, and I manage all of the festivals, all the logistics of the festivals, and I'm also on the sustainability team. My main mission in that team is managing the fuel. And so we also have this mission of reducing the fuel. So right now we commit to about 350,000 gallons of fuel for the month of April. And our goal is to reduce that every year by around 10%. We've now started introducing, I did a proof of concept in 2017 where we set up a hybrid program when I was consulting to Stanley Black & Decker that had invested in 2 of the battery companies. It's a mission that we're really passionate about, and we really want to make a lot of this happen, get rid of as much diesel as we can. It's really critical to do it incrementally, and I'll pass it over to Paul.
Thank you, Ken. I'm Paul Schurink. I'm the CEO of Showpower. We are a relatively new company. We supply battery system for large-scale live entertainment. The product was developed originally for Coldplay, for the Music of the Spheres tour. So we operate the system for already 3 years on that tour, and this year we'll be in the US as well. Let's say apart from supplying batteries, we also specialized in energy management on festivals. So we call it a smart power plan, good inventory, and then make sure that you have an efficient but most of all reliable system.
Incredible. So I'm going to briefly go over the 10 R's of sustainability just to kind of get those back into our forefront of our minds. We use them. They help us make sustainable choices. They reduce waste, and we're here to promote a circular economy. So to start, we have number 1, refuse, rethink, reduce, reuse, repair, refurbish, remanufacture, repurpose, recycle, and recover. So I'm going to ask our panel here for each of them to share a story or a practical application of how they use the 10 R's in the work that they're doing. Paul, do you want to start?
Yes, I can. I have definitely one favorite R, and that's the reduction. Because the most sustainable power, and as you know, I'm all about power, but the most sustainable power is the power you don't use. It's very simple. You don't have to pay for it. It does not create any emissions. So just have a look around. Do we all need this light? Can we turn up 50% of it? Do we still have a good show? Do we need to leave the lights on at daytime or at nighttime when no one is there? So just have that mindset, reduce your energy consumption, and then come the fun part, optimizing it with batteries or whatever, but first reduction. So that's my favorite R.
Ken?
So I started my serious path in sustainability when I owned an amphitheater outside of Portland, Oregon, and we were putting in an offer on Jack Johnson, and they sent us this questionnaire. And I thought, well, we recycle, we're good, perfect, right? And it was like, how much do you recycle? Oh, 50%. So you put 50% of garbage into the, so reduction is a big part of it. And then I started learning about compostable. And I met a really great guy, a guy named Anders Unruh, who's no longer with us, unfortunately. He had a company in San Francisco called Green is Green. And they were on the forefront of developing with Fabrical the compostable cups and all the compostable products, which were problematic. You can't leave them in the sun. But, you know, we learned all these different things. And then as we started moving forward, we ended up at 65% compostable, 30% recycle, and 5% waste. A lot of this, it's rethinking, reimagining. How do you do this? Is there a better way to do it? And the cups went from 0.9 cents per cup to 12 cents per cup. Our beer went from $8 to $9 a cup. We were happy. So, you know, when you do all these things and put them all in a row, so now I work for a giant corporation. You know, there's really two big corporations out there that do 80+% of all the concerts and festivals. And we have audit teams that come in every year and look at everything we're doing. So we can present the story, but if the financial model doesn't fit into it, it's not going forward, you know, or it's going forward on a very limited basis. So for me, it's about rethink, reimagining. That's the R part that I like, and I like getting into the weeds. I like figuring out how to do it, and then moving forward, and then the rest of the R's fall into place for me.
Jennifer, do you want to continue on and kind of apply it?
Sorry. I'm a little bit of opposite of Ken, as I'm an independent promoter. We're a boutique-sized festival, so our financial models, everything we build and everything we do is like one-stop shop at me, and we don't have as many resources as the bigger companies, so we have to be a lot more scrappy in what we do and what we do with our environmental efforts. So, and because of that, so we're about 25,000 people over 3 days, which is still a good amount of people, but compared to the mega festivals, is so much smaller. But our impact can be even stronger with our fans because we're so connected, and they can participate more, and your message can get across to them. So for me, my R's are probably all 10. We do all 10 because we reduce, we 100%. It's a good thing I'm the boss, because if I had a boss, they'd be like, you're insane how much you spend on greening. Because we definitely way overspend on our greening efforts, but we prioritize that. That's literally our number one mission, is to tread lightly. And we know we have a responsibility as promoters when you gather mass amounts of people to take care of the earth and the property. We're on a 600-acre state park, so it's really beautiful. So we know that it's our responsibility to do well to where we are and leave no trace when we leave. So we invest in all of the 10 Rs, and we're plastic free as well, and have the free water stations for fans to refill, and we have a green team that sweeps the site the entire weekend. So by 11 o'clock Sunday night, the property is still spotless from day one, which is really cool. And because the fans over the last 7 years have seen that effort that we've made, they now contribute, and they come in with that same mindset now. And like I was saying earlier, that they walk that extra 5 feet to put the trash in the right place because they see that we do it. So I feel like we have a lot of things financially are way more beneficial with the bigger companies. The one thing that we do have as boutique is like one-on-one fan impact. So I feel like, and we also do like repurpose our lumber. We build everything in our barns. We do a lot of that grassroots efforts as well. So.
Wow. David?
Reduce would be the number one. So we provide battery energy storage systems that replace generators on site, as well as trailers that are solar and battery powered that can run in perpetuity mostly without any power source. We recently were brought in by the U.S. Forest Service for the Eaton fire at Pasadena at the Rose Bowl, where they used sustainable energy for the very first time in a live event. And we took 25 plus trailers offline for nine days. We saved over 3,900 gallons in diesel fuel. And one of the most important things, or very important thing, is the sociability factor that I call it, is that there's no noise and there's no fumes. One of the generators that we took offline was, because of its positioning, actually was emitting too much carbon monoxide by the sensors, so it was an unhealthy situation. So we're actually helping the people that are working right around those trailers, not only the quietness and that peace of mind, but also health-wise and the exhaust that they're breathing. You walk around this camp, there's over 100 generators in this camp. You smell diesel everywhere. And in addition, they're very inefficient. So sometimes they're running 2 or 3 kilowatts of power off of a 200 kilowatt generator, and obviously inefficiency is terrible there.
Yeah. So at this point, thank you all for sharing. I think this is going to give us some ideas from the audience. Do you have any questions at this point that you're interested about? Reduce, reuse, recycle, some of the 10 R's or the challenges that you are facing, and questions about maybe ways of implementing some of the things and these folks are doing within their festivals and in their businesses? Not yet.
Not everybody at once.
Not yet. Okay, keep it going. Keep the ideas going.
So,
We're just getting warmed up. So
I want to just add on to something that he just brought up. We talk about sustainability, about waste and fuel and things like that. What we really talk about is the sustainability of our humans, of the people that are working for us. And, when you're talking about, I had a situation at one of our festivals where the generator that our supplier put down to us had not been serviced. So it was belching out black smoke, and it was really stinky. And, I have a staff of a dozen people that were like, they were starting to get edgy. They were like, I feel sick. I can't stand this. So it's not just the fact that we're reducing our carbon footprint on Earth, we're enhancing our human life on Earth. And that's something that is super important. And if we don't pay attention to that, it's something that's, global warming's real. I've spent a lot of time, I've been very fortunate in my life to have a very diverse background in producing programs, working for some pretty amazing people, including 3 years with President Clinton. If we're not taking care of the people around us first, then how can we take care of our patrons?
Yeah, I totally agree, and we also see this now that we are on a world tour with a battery system. We see that for touring crew, it's very difficult. If you do the average age of touring crew is all about 40 and above. So really the old people, they maintain on the tour, and the youngsters, they really don't see themselves in this harsh environment of a tour. However, now we come with new technology. We really attract young people because they really think, hey, this is interesting. They are not in a favor to babysit a diesel generator, but to operate a battery system, they are interested. So this is also, this new technology attracts the young people, and this is exactly what the industry needs. So fully agree with you. It's more about only technology, but it's the whole society around it.
Sure.
Financial benefit off of sustainable programs. We find that one of the best arguments and the best way to further your sustainability is to show that there is actual financial benefit coming from that.
I have spreadsheets.
Yeah.
So do I.
That was one of the many questions we talked about at our meeting. So yeah, where do you want to start?
Yeah, I mean, I have to justify it. So I was a tour accountant for many years. I'm really good in Excel. I know how to put those pivot tables together and show everybody how they work. So where most people don't understand is they go, oh, well, the battery's 10,000, the diesel generator's 7,500. We got to go with the diesel generator. Well, wait, time out, because now we've got to refuel that, which takes, it not only takes the fuel, it takes the truck, it takes the person, it takes labor, and all of a sudden now I'm showing where it's now, and this was years ago, but now it's better, but there's a 10% savings. Once I was able to start showing, and once you think through all these different things, maybe this piece of equipment costs you a little more money than the old style generator, but what does that old style generator really cost you? So you have to pay attention to that.
I'm going to follow up on that question because I like practical. So are there places that people can go to figure out the financial implications, or if they do this, then they'll reduce by what, so that they can show their, supporters and sponsors and people that are going to these events?
Yeah, it takes a little bit of pre-planning. So to answer your question, we're usually cost comparable when you take fuel consumption into consideration. Sometimes we can save money. Sometimes it's depending on the length of the event and the hours and the amount of power that's needed. It does take, one thing that it does take in our industry is a little bit of pre-planning. We need to know what we're going to be powering, and sometimes it's easy to throw a 1,000 amp generator out there and I know it's going to cover it, right? Even though it's we're running that generator inefficiently. But it does take a little bit of pre-planning. If we can get the power loads, it's a mathematical equation. We can figure out what batteries you need and deploy appropriately.
And I'm going to jump in here. When should people start thinking about this if they're thinking about implementing it at their festival or event?
As soon as they know their power needs, many people don't know their power needs. So for past events, we're taking just what they used, their equipment that they used and they had on the last event, and then we're coming up with those calculations because, again, we're mostly oversizing generators and not worrying about how much power we're using for the most part. And it's really important to size properly for events for a number of reasons, for financial as well as also to be successful.
I'll add on to that too, just on our boutique size of ways to save money that we're constantly realizing year after year is site, which you probably are master in, but site layout, always looking at how your site is running with tents, what tents are next to each other, how much power, can you consolidate power? Can you switch your site layout around and put a beer vendor next to the VIP tent and they can share the power on that, or just different ways that you can build your site so the resources are shared, so you're using less power throughout the course of the weekend or the week or however long your event is. And then also, like, if you have, for us, like for our festival, like our impact is really important. We're in a community where everyone's paying attention. So on a financial side, the fact that we do spend a little bit more and keep our site really, really clean has allowed us to bring in more sponsorship, more support from the state, more support from the county and the community. So I would say, even though we spend a little bit more than we should sometimes in our greening efforts, it's benefited us financially in the long run because we have a lot more support from our region.
Could I just quickly add, as site design as well, with the battery energy storage systems, you can place these in positions that you cannot place a generator due to the noise and exhaust. So when you're working on your site plan, all of a sudden you can have less cabling. You can save time, money from rentals and labor. So there's a lot of cost efficiencies there.
You can have more bars in the middle of the audience. I do a lot of lecturing at universities, and I always ask the class, what's the most important thing at a festival? And they come up with all these answers. And then I put up my first slide, and it's a Heineken bottle. I put up my second slide, it's a Budweiser bottle. I put up a third slide, and it's a cocktail. I put up a fourth slide, it's all three together. Without alcohol, we don't make any money. And when you can look at doing all these things, you can now start finding more ways to raise your ancillary income that helps you have your festival work and be profitable. The other thing is talk to your vendors, because we're now all our lights are now LED. So the amount of power that we need is much less. The LEDs, and back in the day, we'd have 1,000 or 1,200 par cans up in the sky. Now we have 120 to 100 to 250 LED, and they can do everything from a spot to a wash to a million colors, whatever you want to do. Same thing with Ecostiks. So our main supplier of PA, they're working on developing, and we're talking to amplifier companies, because an amplifier takes AC, converts it to DC to run the power. So can we get rid of the transformer and just have straight DC amps?
And I can make it even nicer, because we are talking with Ecostiks, and we are developing a battery system which is also the ballast of the layer tower. So you have the tower with all the speakers, and instead of bringing concrete, you can just put off your batteries and then you power the tower, but you make a combination, and it also saves transport. And this integration is what we are working at.
Yeah, so
I think that's rethinking, isn't it?
Yeah.
That is, we're hitting the 10
Another
Rs.
R.
Yeah. That was kind of one of my questions too, is what do you think the future of sustainability is going to be at these events? And you talk about technology, rethinking things that we've done a different way. How are you guys thinking of the future, years, 2 years, 3 years down the road? Maybe 10, if we can make it that long.
Well, first of all, I'm really kind of a nerd at heart. So I grew up reading popular mechanics and popular science. I still do. But, the technology is advancing. In the next 3 to 5 years, there's going to be a whole new design of battery that's going to be coming out. That's going to be lighter, more efficient. Everything that we're looking for, the cars are going to get better, the ranges are going to, Toyota has a car coming out in 27 that's got an 800-mile range. Lucid, which I can't afford, is at 500. I drive a Kia EV6. I picked it because it has a 320-mile range. It's staying on top of it. It will advance. And as it advances, it gets more efficient, it gets less expensive. As the adoption grows, it becomes more of a day-to-day thing. And, you know, we went from 0 to 100 in smartphones in a 10-year period. So what's going to happen with the batteries and everything, the inverters, and all this stuff is going to get so much better.
Yeah, totally agree. And I think really the combinations of different techniques, but also user purpose. So what I was just talking about, the audio tower with the batteries, but I also see that in the future the trucks from David will be EV trucks. And if we need to power the show, we don't need to bring the batteries because the batteries are already in the trucks. So currently, trucks with all the light and gear equipment come unload on a festival and being parked a couple of streets ahead. But in the future, they only park the trailers. The trucks come back, we plug in their batteries, charge them, run the show, recharge, and there you go.
I live in the Eaton fire zone. I powered my house with my car.
There you go. And in a couple of years, you power your main stage by trucks.
So I have a question kind of around upcycling. So I'm thinking of this new technology that's coming through. Where does the old technology go? And is there a system of, you know, trickle-down effect where you can give it to a festival to use the not as good technology, but still help them upgrade into a solar or battery-powered system? Like thinking different ways of thinking about how the festival industry can create community around sustainability by sharing resources and ideas and different kinds of products. Do you guys have kind of thoughts or experience in that?
In England where they left the solar panels, wasn't there?
Yeah, what you see now is that on some festival areas they cover the car parks with solar, and that's during the festival you power the festival from solar, but also not. And we had a festival that was in Spain where there was an old solar array which was no longer in working, and with the festival we brought it back into a good state, and it was used, and then the annual energy harvest from the installation was 150,000 kilowatt hours, and the festival only needs 15,000, and the remaining 135,000 kilowatt hours was donated to the city. So then you see that in that way the festival, it's called regenerative, so it gives more back than that it gains. And this is more or less the future from, let's say, once we've made a circular festival, then you can go regenerative.
We, as most women will attest, porta potties are not their favorite place. So we built 400 permanent bathrooms at Coachella. On the roof of those bathrooms is all covered in solar panels. So it takes there's no electricity really needed other than for the hot water and the lights that are in the bathroom. So on top of that, we have courtesy outlets that are on the side of all the buildings, and we use it to power some ancillary things. A bar, back to our main purpose, not our main purpose, but one of our main revenue streams. So, there's lots of things as you're planning and creating and looking at it, and the ability to be at a facility where you can put in and work with your municipalities. How do you develop a more sustainable future? I also am a co-chair of amphitheaters, festivals, and fairgrounds at the International Association of Venue Managers. And we have a monthly sustainability call where we're talking about every building in the world that we work with on how to increase and what's your best practice. So finding those groups is really important because you learn a lot. I learned from being on these panels.
I was kind of extend that, and maybe Jennifer, you can help answer this about where, like groups, where do people find information? Where's the best place to continue the conversation and learn more about sustainability in festivals and events?
I think that I can't really answer that question with a list of links, but I would say right now, I wanted to touch upon what he was saying, but also, to answer your question, there is a new organization, it's pretty brand new in the music industry called the Music Sustainability Alliance. Yeah, and it's pretty recent in the last, 1 to 2 years, really, and they really are, that's a great resource. They're starting to get a lot more present and engaging with all of us, everybody in the music industry community, from the Live Nations down to the independent promoters to all the companies that are making these efforts, and they're hosting panels and conferences and putting out newsletters, so I think that's a great resource. But I did want to also touch on what he was saying just about, like, just to bring it back, because I am independent boutique, but the grassroots efforts, like, they're so massively impactful. I mean, the technology is incredibly important, but the switching the mindsets, like for me, I grew up working underneath Dave Matthews Band, who was a kind of a forefront leader in a lot of things, from one of the first bands that toured with Greenpeace to the sustainability missions, and along with Jack Johnson and like Willie Nelson. And that's where it was really, like, at age 21, it was drilled into my brain, you are responsible for your footprint. And I think being leaders and having the platform to teach people and show people that is really, really super impactful. And like I was saying, for our fan base now, they know better. Like, they almost feel ashamed if they don't behave properly with the environment. And I really just feel like that's so crucial to our overall efforts.
Yep, I was going to ask the same question around fans, as far as fans demanding it. Oh, sorry, and another question, go ahead.
I just had a question about the artist side of this. I work for a company who is one of the pillars of sustainability. They built Climate Pledge Arena in Seattle. They got rid of all the fossil fuels, and they went to electric cooking and everything. And they do an audit after every show about, carbon in, carbon out, and they try to balance these books. And what I remember learning is that the majority of the gap is artist travel. I just wonder if there's there are some enlightened artists, obviously, like a Coldplay and Jack Johnson and others, but I just wonder if there's any opportunity for artists themselves to be part of this equation, because what you all are doing is fantastic, but is there any hope that we can reduce the carbon coming from all the trucks and the flights and all of the artist end of that bargain?
I think I have a nice example.
Yeah.
Because we have a festival in the Netherlands who had exactly the same problem, that they were very, very close to circularity, but audience travel was a problem. So what they did, they made a deal with a national train service, and in Europe, or at least in the Netherlands, our trains run on 100% renewable energy. And they invited some DJs and bands to go play in the train. So the festival didn't start at the festival gates, but it already started in the train. So everyone went by train because they had a couple of hours extra party. And this type of creative ideas, this is what's helping us forward.
Yeah, and I spent a good portion of my life, I started out as a musician and did the van, the bus, all that stuff. And then I ended up working for an artist for a decade, touring. And as the tour accountant, I was always looking for efficiencies. And we started to see it back in the 90s, where we went from the Detroit diesel 8-cylinder engine to a turbo diesel 6-cylinder engine. The difference was the 8-cylinder was about 5 miles to a gallon, and the turbo 6 was 13 miles to a gallon. So, it's a slow thing, but as we start seeing it evolve now, I'm noticing in my neighborhood that I have a home office, so I see the Amazon trucks flying by. So we're getting the Rivian Amazon trucks, starting to see FedEx with electric vehicles. Before I had my electric car, I had a hydrogen car, which was amazing and I loved it, but the infrastructure sucked. So I got rid of it. But we'll see not only hydrogen trucks on the highway. It was already in place. It was part of the infrastructure plan put forward by the Biden administration. Hopefully it won't go away. The courts are trying to stop them from stopping that program. We'll see all the different things that are coming, but there is a desire in the industries to move forward and get better.
And I'm going to have this question go to both of you based on your festival experience, but also on what you do as far as the trailers that you're bringing on board and what the talent is asking as far as like environmental impact.
Okay. In regards to the trailers, we are designing trailers with 4,000 watts of solar on them, 35 to 80 kilowatts of battery. For the most part, they're self-sustainable as far as being able to operate without any power. So that the trucking end of it is still, I think, technology, as Ken said. So technology is developing, and the trucking, the transportation part, is getting better. I think that's not as developed as far as the batteries, our energy storage systems are at right now. So I suggest we can all take little bites, and we're moving forward. I think Ken said, we can take our light towers and we can get rid of the generators there. Every little thing that we can do and we can move forward, we will get there. I think in 5 to 10 years, 3 to 5 years, batteries are not a question. I'm not saying diesel generators go away, but this is all normal practice of what we do in film and festivals.
Just to touch upon what you were saying with the artists, I do feel like there's a lot of artists, especially the next generation, like the Billie Eilish of the world, Noah Kahan. They're very forward-thinking and aware of what their impact is, and Billie Eilish has a massive movement in the industry as far as what her leadership is in sustainability. So I do think fans or artists on a bigger level who do have the money and the resources to make their changes are actually doing that now. I think it's always hard for younger artists who just can barely get by on the road to think about sustainability in their touring, but I do feel like it's at the forefront of their minds. And there's a group called Reverb, it's been around forever, that addresses the artists on the road and tries to assist them to have more sustainable travel. And then a lot of festivals, I'm sure all of what we do puts it in our riders. When artists show up on site, we say, we're plastic free, here's a water bottle, use our water stations. Like, we do our little efforts on site at our events and the artists often demand that. Like, they come in, a lot of them have that in their rider as well. Like, this is what we are, here's our greening efforts, and we'll say, well, here's our greening efforts, and they're usually pretty aligned. So there is a real movement right now with artists to do the right, to take those steps.
So you came from Red Light.
Yeah.
So I was working with a group bringing the Dalai Lama to the United States. We needed to raise money for it. I reached out. I started doing research on which artists would be interested in it. I went to Beastie Boys, Chili Peppers, and then I called my buddy Chip, another guy who's not with us, but an amazing guy. And I said, hey, I can't pay him, but what I can offer Dave is a audience with His Holiness for an hour. He can have an hour with the Dalai Lama. I got a call back in like 30 seconds. He's in. Called Corn, he's in. So, when you're looking at doing these festivals, and Chip was on a panel shortly after that, and the question was asked, how do we get our artists on board with this? And he goes, talk to Ken, because what he did was the research. So not every artist, they'll support it, but they're not always the passionate ones. So when you're looking for the artists, Florence, I mean, there's a lot of them out there, and it's growing. So find those, do the research, start looking at their websites, find what they're passionate about, and the more that you can involve the artist in the community on what you're doing, then the easier it is for you to go in and make the deals. So it's a group effort. To coin a phrase, it does take a village.
And in addition to that, what also a very successful strategy is that, let's say, every sustainability action you do is by default on the backstage side. So at the back of the stage, you process your waste, you look at your energy, etc. So basically, that's a cost center for a festival. If you move that from the backstage to the front stage, meaning you do waste sorting in the public area, then there are sponsors who are, let's say, waste companies who wanted to contribute to this. And also, our first battery systems in 2012 on festivals, they had huge solar panels on it. And we had local power companies who wanted to sell power contracts to clients, but they couldn't tell what renewable power was. But on that festival, they could show what it was, and they started selling their contract, and they paid the extra fees for the batteries at the beginning. So moving from backstage to front stage, that also makes it affordable, let's say, when you're innovative, and then you have the extra cost.
Yeah, at Coachella, we have a organization called Global Inheritance, and we have a very large footprint of sustainability education. Kids can get on bicycles and power a mini stage. All sorts of different things. But like I said earlier, it's not just us doing it. It's working with the artist. It's working with the audience. It's educating the audience. Sometimes educating the artist, because sometimes they just don't know.
I was just going to say one more topic would be the food waste as well. Working with local nonprofits and donating back any of your food waste or non-perishable things that you have, because often we have so much left over. We work a lot, and I'm sure Coachella does. Most festivals now work a lot with local nonprofits and groups that you can donate things back to at the end of the festival, which saves on massive amounts of waste of food and beverages.
There's an amazing company out there called Musically Fed. So you can look them up. Maria Bruner, a very close friend. She was part of the original Concerts West, which is what AEG is now. They will come pick up your leftover food, and they will take it to homeless shelters, battered women shelters, any kind of food that you have left over does not have to go to waste, does not have to go in the garbage. There are places where people need food.
I have a question, if I can ask, right here.
There you are.
So I'm Orlando. I'm in Rochester, New York. We run the Puerto Rican Festival. It's a 3-day event, similar to yours, 25-ish thousand people. My question, I guess, to you or Ken would be, on our end, I would say, we don't do any sustainability, to be honest. But we're, trying to change our mindset. Been around, this is our 55th year in existence. So I guess my question to the both of you, for somebody like us, maybe top 3 things that you're like, hey, these are some things that you can incorporate into your festival. I know you mentioned the water stations. I was talking to Julie about it earlier. But what are some other things that are kind of impactful? And we can start that ball rolling.
Yeah, I can. Yay, Western New York. Go Bills. Yeah, I mean, on a grassroots level, and just again going back to cost, because you probably initially won't have a lot of money to get started, I think the water stations are massively impactful because you reduce all of the plastic sales, even if you're selling recycled cans, it's just no, like you were saying at the beginning, if you don't create the waste, it's not even ever there. So the water stations are amazing and low cost. And then just having what Ken was saying on educational, like having a green team, kind of a presence and just showing, having the different, if you came to my festival, you might have seen the different recyclable, like the 3 different things of composting, trash, and recycle. So educating fans that you can place your things in these different areas, and it does make a difference, and it's not all going to the landfill. So I would say like water stations, show people how to dispose of their waste, and third thing would be just have a presence, like start talking about it, making awareness.
Oh yeah, I just wanted to add that those are great points. My name's Jack. I started a company called Revival. It's an online marketplace to buy and sell secondhand festival clothing. And I'm actually one of the volunteer researchers for Music Sustainability Alliance. Right now we're creating a guide for the live events industry. If you're just starting out with like implementing sustainability initiatives, it'll be like a go-to resource for like starting at square one if you don't know anything or you're just getting going, how to implement sustainability efforts into your live events. So you could keep that on the radar.
Yeah, and that's, look, and the one thing going back to compostability, all those things, there's a company out there now called R Cup. So you sell your beer, your cocktail, whatever it is, and then they just drop the cup and they pick them up and they have a life cycle of 20 or 30 times. So there's all sorts of like really simple things that you can do, and you can get sponsors. Camelback, I don't know if they still have it, but they had a water station program for festivals. So you now get a sponsor. So it's when you find, we did a thing with Bad Bunny and Adidas, and it was the first time that we let a logo be facing the audience, but they did it out of a living wall, and then at the end of the festival they donated all the plants to the city.
Okay, one last question, and then we'll all be here, so if you want to ask us questions, feel free to catch any of us in and out. And
yeah, this isn't a question, it's just more a tip. I am the festival director for the Avocado Festival in Carpinteria, and we have partnered with with EJ Harrison's, who does all of the waste management, and it looks really good optically, like the city has gotten involved, and like it looks really good that we are recycling everything and composting everything, so that entire, EJ Harrison's manages all of that waste for us throughout the whole festival. And so I would say getting involved with your city, because then your city is going to be like put you in touch with the right people and then be promoting that you're throwing green festivals in their city. So pushing it from the other way helps too. And our cup's great. I use them on all of our events too.
Yeah, so the one thing that I would add on to that is I won't mention names. So we've struggled with our waste companies in that they want everything to be waste because they make money by charging us the weight back. So working with them, and it's really my first experience going back to Jack Johnson, and I swear to God this is true. So there's 2 garbage districts. The one closest to me didn't have a composting facility, and that was run by Vinny. The one that had it was run by Vito. I had to pay Vinny to let Vito's trucks go through his garbage district and bring the compostable products back to his composting station. Going all the way in and working with them. You want to work with them friendly, but you also want to let them know that you're going to tell stories. So they can either be part of the story in a very good way, or they can be a part of a story in the bad way. So you know, you want to work with those companies. It's difficult. Same problem happened to me with a traditional power supplier. Kicking and screaming. So.
Yep, that's excellent. Yeah, I think the last thing we'll say is just about what you were saying is storytelling, messaging, communication, how we tell our sustainable stories within the festival and events that we do so that your fans know what you're doing, so that you can get that feedback to get more demand, so that we as festivals produce more. So I want to thank the panel for joining us today, and thank you for coming. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask us at any time. Have a great day.
Thank you, Julie.
Thank you, guys.